Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's our 8 o'clock hour. The time is 8:06, and it's O'Connor and Company. We've got 1 hour to go here before we hand it off to Chris Plant. And at 8:35, we'll speak with Chuck Thies, D.C. political analyst, talk about the Trayon White election yesterday. I'm Larry O'Connor, and Patrice Onwuka is here on a rare Wednesday appearance because she's testifying tomorrow on Capitol Hill. Patrice, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Julie will be here tomorrow, and all will be right with the world.
And then I'll be back on Friday.
There you go. It's hard to keep straight. It's also hard to keep straight what's going on in this Virginia governor's race and down-ticket races as well, and the latest comings and goings of one Richard Cox and the Loudoun County School Board. Thank God Nick Minock is on the scene there for WJLA ABC 7. Nick, we have a potpourri of topics. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Thanks for joining us today.
Likewise. Good morning.
Let's start with your analysis of the fundraising. Winsome Earl Sears, the Republican candidate, raised $5.9 million in the last quarter, which is good, but nowhere near the $10.7 million that Abigail Spanberger raised. Are we aware, though, of how much of that money is from in-state or out-of-state? Because Democrats recently have been raising a lot of money from, California and other places.
Sure. So we're still combing through all the details of these campaign finance reports, but both campaigns are receiving a significant amount of money from out of state. It looks like Abigail Spanberger is in the strongest position when it comes to fundraising at this point and cash on hand. Looking at their campaign finance reports that were released this month, Abigail Spanberger has raised $20.5 million in the entirety of her campaign. Compared to Winsome Earl Sears, she raised $11.6 million. And in terms of cash on hand, the money they have available today, Spanberger has $15.2 million. Winsome Earl Sears has $4.5 million cash on hand. So right now, Spanberger has 3 times as much money as Earl Sears.
Wow.
And listen, the Democrats are already acting like she's won. You see features on Abigail Spanberger already being mentioned as a potential running mate for whoever gets the presidential nomination in 2028. I'm serious. They're just acting like they've got this thing in hand, but I don't think the polling necessarily shows that Spanberger is running away with it despite the money on hand.
Yeah, I've heard about different polls, internal polls, showing this close, showing Spanberger in the lead. There's some Democrats who think she's going to win, take this with 6-7 points in November. But I've heard about polls that show it more like a 3 or 4 point race at this point. Mm-hmm. The other interesting thing is the Attorney General's race. Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares has outraised his Democratic opponent. Miyares has raised $9.3 million so far. Jay Jones has raised $4.9 million. And in terms of cash on hand, Miyares has $7 million with his campaign committees, whereas Jones, who just got out of a primary, has $1.2 million. Wow. And that's going to be an interesting one to watch, too. I know Democrats feel like, hey, we can win the governor's race, but they think it's going to be tough to beat Jason Miyares.
So, Nick, let's go over to Loudoun County. Specifically, you've been giving some really great coverage on the school board over there. And we are very well familiar with the school board, their antics, and obviously the fact that they are trying very hard to cover up what they're doing and making sure parents don't have a voice in that. And I think we all know often, all too well, what has happened in past school board meetings where parents, got animated, pushing back against what the school board was up to. You want to share an update with what they're trying to do next to limit parents' voices?
Right. And this is one worth paying attention to if you live out in Loudoun County. There are some school board members, when they come back in August, they're going to be looking at limiting public comment even further, restricting the amount of public comment days from twice a month to once a month. And this comes after a number of parents at the last 2 regular school board meetings showed up to voice their concerns about LCPS's locker room policy that allows students to use locker rooms and bathrooms at school based on their gender identity, not biological sex. And that came to a head after our reporting on 3 boys that LCPS is investigating for Title IX sexual harassment and sex-based discrimination because they questioned why there was a girl in the boys' locker room. And so that's why a lot of parents showed up. And then once we came to the committee meeting after those meetings, Ann Donahue, a school board member, said, hey, I would like to make a suggestion that we dedicate one night a month to public comment instead of two. What's interesting about this is every time you see, I shouldn't say every time, but almost every time you see a large group of parents come out to speak against these locker room and bathroom policies, the school board decides they want new restrictions on public comment. Back in February 27, 2024, a large group of parents came out, and what happened after that? They shut off the cameras on the parents. Now it looks like they're going to be potentially reducing the number of times a year they do public comment.
Sheesh.
Speaking of people using the wrong restroom based on their equipment, let's say, Richard Cox, of course, is back in the news again. Your cameras, or some cameras that you had access to, saw him leaving a child's water park, a water park that was specifically geared toward children with disabilities. He was leaving that area, and you finally had a chance to ask a question of the very elusive chief of police of Fairfax County, Kevin Davis, who's been sort of not accepting your invitations for an interview. So you went to a press conference. How'd that exchange go with regard to you getting information about the disposition of Mr. Cox?
Sure. So I'll say this about Kevin Davis. He usually always does interviews with me. This is, I think, the one time I can recall he would refuse to do an interview with me is on Richard Cox. And what we wanted to ask is why didn't the Fairfax County Police Department charge Richard Cox for things like indecent exposure, indecent liberties with children, exposing himself allegedly in women's locker rooms at 3 different county rec centers late last year? And oh, by the way, why haven't they charged Richard Cox for proximity issues? He's a registered Tier 3 sex offender. This video shows him going into a playground that have day programs for children and a spray water park at Franconia Rec Center that was designed for kids with developmental disabilities. The video shows him going into these spaces. Why haven't they charged him? When Arlington County has charged him for these crimes that he did in Arlington County, nearly identical crimes. Well, Kevin Davis told us in that press conference that they haven't found probable cause. But here's the thing. Arlington County has.
Yeah.
And look, if you've got video of Richard Cox going into these women's spaces and places where he's not supposed to be, wouldn't that be probable cause?
You would
That's
think.
What I asked him.
You would think. And is this going to make its way into this special election? Mr. Walkinshaw, the Democrat nominee for the 11th District, he's running in this special election. He's on the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors right now. He has the ability to raise these issues and try to find out what's going on with regard to these policies. Do you think that this might be a factor in the race?
Potentially. It depends what the Republican candidate does with it. I have asked Supervisor James Walkinshaw a number of times to do interviews on this subject, going back several months. I've even asked him an email, do you support men going into women's locker rooms and bathrooms? This is a policy the county has. Does he support it? No answer. So I guess we'll see. I will. One of the rec centers, by the way, is in his magisterial district, in the Braddock district. It's Audrey Moore Rec Center. And Richard Cox went there. So this happened in his community that he represents on the county board, but I haven't seen him say anything about it.
I wonder why he doesn't want to talk to reporters. Does he not believe in free press and making sure that the newspapers and radio and television stations can talk to a candidate while they're running for office? Well, stay on that, would you, Nick Minock? And we'll see if any of your colleagues, by the way, who Mr. Walkinshaw might give an interview to, whether they actually raise this question. We'll be watching.
That's right.
Always good to talk to you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
It is 8:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
A lot of people are looking in the rearview mirror, analyzing the 2024 election on behalf of the Democrats. Democrats try to figure it out. It's like, where did we go wrong? I mean, how could, after all, he was a 38-time convicted felon and a sexual predator and a Nazi and a fascist. We spent all these 10 years sliming Donald Trump, and yet he still won the election. What went wrong? They're still trying to figure that out, Patrice. They still think it's messaging, I guess.
They still think it's the message. If we had the right message, maybe the right messenger, not the policy, which obviously is
No, I was going to say they think the message is just fine. It's just getting the message out was their problem, and yes, maybe it was the candidate. Although I haven't heard them actually criticize the candidate either. Honestly, I mean
they're not talking about Kamala Harris. They're talking about Joe Biden, but.
Well, we have somebody else chiming in and giving his opinion on what went wrong for the Democrats. Hunter Biden.
Okay. Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden said in an interview the Democrats lost in November because they weren't loyal to his dad.
He's saying that they shouldn't have given his dad the axe. Joe should have stayed on the ticket, and he would have beat President Trump. Is that what he's saying?
That's right. Or they should have just embraced all of his great power. Although one will point to the famous interview that Kamala Harris did when she was on The View when Sonny Hostin said, "Is there anything you'd do differently than Joe Biden?" And she couldn't think of anything. That's pretty loyal, Hunter. And that was part of the downfall. Hunter Biden said in this interview, by the way, who do you think Hunter Biden's willing to talk to in an interview? Oh, it's a podcast, of course. Listen, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Podcasts are great, but guys, be discerning about which podcasts you choose, because here's the beauty of podcasts. Podcasts are just like radio without the standards, okay? Without the quality control. Without actually having to meet some kind of bar of legitimacy, okay? Literally anyone can do a podcast. And in this case, it's the former chair of the Democratic National Committee, Jaime Harrison. I couldn't, if you had offered me $1 billion for me to tell you who Jaime Harrison was, the last thing I'd come up with is former chair of the Democrat National Committee. But Jaime Harrison has a podcast called At Our Table. That's the interview that Hunter Biden's willing to go on. I assure you there were no tough questions about that laptop. And here's what Hunter said. Do we have the audio of it, or do we just – all right, so I'll read it to you. It says, you know what? We're going to fight amongst ourselves over the next 3 years until there's a nominee. And then with the nominee, we better as hell get behind that nominee. I'll tell you why we lost that last election. We lost the election because we didn't remain loyal to the leader of the party. Oh, here it is. Oh, no, that's a different audio. Sorry. We did not remain loyal to the leader of the party. That's my position. We had the advantage of incumbency. We had advantage of an incredibly successful administration, and the Democrat Party literally melted down. So that's Hunter Biden's wise political advice. You know what? May I just say, for the record, Hunter Biden should put his money where his mouth is. He should run for office. He is the perfect candidate for the Democrats. I'm thinking Senator of Delaware. Let's go, Hunter.
After Trayon White? Yeah, why not? I mean, it's so interesting because I'm not sure how much more he expected the Democrats to do. And I'm going to lump in the most of the mass media among the list of Democrats he's upset about. They squashed anything related to Hunter Biden's dealings for years. They tried to make it seem that the fact that his father is the big guy, knowing what Hunter Biden was doing, peddling his former influence as a former vice president, was no big deal, no story, nothing to be seen. I mean, how much more did Hunter want from the Democratic Party? So, at the end of the day, they want to be in power, and they didn't think Joe Biden was going to get them there. And Hunter forgets that that what we saw was 4 years of deterioration of his father, but then what everybody else saw on the during that August debate between President Trump and Joe Biden was just in it. You could not cover that up anymore. So I don't really know what he wanted. I don't know what he's trying to do right now, other than stay out of jail. I don't understand.
I think he's just going to keep going on podcasts, Patrice. And he won't go on radio, though, because here at radio, we actually do have standards, and we have quality control, and we actually are accountable to our audience. But he goes on a podcast run by a former chair of the Democratic National Committee, and it gets about 10 downloads, but he gets his message out, and I guess that's all that matters. 823.
All right, coming up, Chuck Thies is going to join us to help us understand how Trayon was reelected in D.C. last night. He's got some good insights on that and more. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 8:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 8:36. Thanks for tuning in here to O'Connor and Company on a very busy Wednesday in your nation's capital.
Yes.
It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. What are you doing here?
I don't know. No, I was kidding. I switched with Julie. I was going to be on tomorrow, and
right.
I'm on today instead. So she's sleeping in this morning.
No, she's not. She's got 3 teenage boys. She ain't sleeping in. Patrice Onwuka is
true.
also testifying tomorrow. Take a look at that. Which committee is it again? Remind me.
The Senate Help Committee, that's health, employment, labor, and pensions.
We'll be all over that. Joining us right now is Chuck Thies, D.C. political analyst. Chuck.
Education, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. So, Chuck, explain this to me. Trayon White. Was this just because there were 4 candidates and Trayon won with 29% of the vote? Is it because none of the voters in Ward 8 are engaged? Or is it because, well, the voters of Ward 8 specifically want a guy like Trayon White, who's under FBI investigation for taking over $150,000 in bribes as their representative on the district council?
Well, a few things. It's a bit all of the above. And just a clarification, he's not just under investigation. He's been indicted for accepting bribes. Yep. No, well, it's important that people understand that.
No, you're right. That is important.
He's slated to go on trial in January of 2026. So the election. My takeaway is 3 things. First, number one, there are 56, and anyone could vote in this election. You didn't even have to be a registered voter. You could show up and prove residency and vote on the same day. That said, there are 56,000 registered voters in Ward 8. Only about 7,000 participated in this election. So apathy, okay? Let's begin with apathy. That's number one. Number 2, let's give the voters who did participate some credit. 71% of them rejected Trayon White.
That's true. That's true.
That's a fair assessment.
That's the headline.
And then my biggest takeaway, though, this is a Democratic ward. I think 94% of the ward voted for Harris in the presidential election. So I fault the Democratic Party here, the local Democratic Party. They could not find, recruit, bolster a candidate to get more than 2,000 votes in a ward with 56,000 voters. Because 2,000 votes wins the election. Right now, Trayon has around 1,900. And that's just sad and pathetic. Also, the unions. There are thousands, tens of thousands of union employees in Ward 8. Why didn't the unions get together, identify a candidate, support that candidate, and mobilize their masses? They could have literally had a seat on the D.C. Council. So the Democratic institutions in the District of Columbia, the party, the unions, and others, are literally inept.
Well, Chuck, let me add another one. Why didn't any of those institutions lean on any of the 3 other candidates to drop out? I mean, they pretty much split the ticket. They were polling 22, 24, and maybe 24%. If just one of them had dropped out, I'm pretty sure that would have been the end of Trayon White's. It would have spelled doom for him. So, do you know of any effort? Was there a reason why the 3 of them thought it was a good idea to just stick it out to the end, thinking they were going to prevail?
Patrice, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There was no effort by anyone, by any organization, by any institution, by any powerful politician or influential politician. Everyone I talked to said the same thing. Oh, well, Trayon White's going to win anyway. Trayon's going to win anyway. I heard that 6 ways to Sunday. And I said, because you're doing nothing. There's no point in doing anything. There's no point in doing anything. He's going to win anyway. And I kept saying repeatedly, if you can get to, I thought 2,500, safe margin. If you can get to 2,500 votes, you will beat him. You will beat him. And if you can't get to 2,500 votes, in an audience of 56,000 voters, you have no business being a politician, a party, an organizer, and anything. That's ridiculous. That's like 4%. It's 4%. Go and get 4% of the voters to support your candidate, and you win.
Meanwhile, Trayon White's not the only embarrassment at the district council, as you know, Chuck. The exclusive negotiation period between the District of Columbia and the Washington Commanders over a stadium deal expired last night at midnight. The D.C. Council failed to advance the provisions that would provide the funding for the new stadium and the deal with the NFL football team. So where does that stand now? Is this still going to get done? Are the district council members still trying to wet their beak? Is it corruption or is it incompetence?
It's not corruption. I don't think there's anyone trying to shake down the NFL or the Commanders. I think that would result in a very fast phone call to the FBI. It would certainly be hilarious to watch, but I don't think that's what's going on. It's brinksmanship. It's politics. What we have here is the D.C. Council Chairman, Phil Mendelson, really doesn't like the mayor. And the feeling is mutual, by the way. And this is an opportunity for him to throw a monkey wrench into her biggest. This is her legacy defining project, right? This is what she will be remembered by. It's what she wants to be remembered by. She's trying to rebrand the district as a sports capital. So this is really big and important for her. She's put a lot of her reputation at stake, and he's happy to throw a monkey wrench into the plans. That's all that's going. That's all it is. It's all it is. The Commanders are going to play football in Washington, D.C. A stadium will be built. And quite frankly, if the council, and it's really just the council chairman, if the council were to jam this up too long, or if the council were to tank it, which I don't see happening, Congress would step in. And Congress would take the money from the district and appropriate it to build a stadium. They have that authority. So this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when the actual ink hits the paper. But it's going to happen. 99.9% certain.
Chuck Thies, we're going to take that to the bank. Thank you for joining us, as always.
Thanks, Chuck.
You guys have a great day.
Maybe it's me. I think Muriel Bowser's legacy will be that mural down near Lafayette Square that she eventually painted over. Yeah. But I know that's what she'll be remembered for. It is 8:43.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese. Weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
As you know, Gavin Newsom is quite aggressive these days in trying to sort of, what's the word for it? Lie. That's it. Lie about his.
I thought you were going to say restyle himself or,
lie.
Make himself over.
Yeah, lie. Yeah. He's basically lying to the American people about who he is, what his legacy is. He's pretending like, the whole transgender thing, man, I get it. Well, he hasn't done anything. In fact, he's got one of the most aggressive states with regard to taking children away from their parents if they don't so-called affirm a child's gender identity, which is contrary to the equipment they were born with, et cetera, et cetera. He's a sociopathic liar is who Gavin Newsom is, and I won't even say allegedly or in my opinion. I will say it. He is a sociopathic liar, and if you would like to sue me for defamation, bring it on, because I will win in a court of law. And so recently, he's become very, very aggressive. He went to South Carolina. He's doing podcasts. Yes. He's getting ready for his presidential run. And I know a lot of people are like, I want the Democrats to nominate him. No, I don't. I don't want the Democrats to nominate him because I don't want him to get that close. He is so dangerous and so destructive to a state that I love.
Yes.
So he's been very aggressive, and he's also utilized the press office. Now, it's called the Governor Newsom Press Office. Now, I don't know if this is paid for by the state of California or not. If it is, they're basically acting on social media as a weapon for Gavin Newsom to sort of, push back on criticisms of his job in California. So I kid you not, somebody with the account called One Bad Dude, okay, so literally an anonymous account on X, put out on social media a statement, said, fact, Democrat-run states are bleep holes, okay? And the Governor Newsom press office reposted that and put the word bleep hole in quotation marks with these 4 lovely pictures of spots in California. One appears to be Hollywood Boulevard. Okay. One is that famous street in San Francisco that's very windy and crooked and bendy.
Yes.
And, it's at sunset and the lighting is beautiful and everything. And it's to make fun of that. It's like, look how beautiful California is. And these people are calling it a bleep hole. But here's the funny thing. Those 4 pictures that they put out to prove that California isn't a bleep hole, John Hassan, a journalist over at Town Hall, did a search on those pictures. You can take pictures and do a Google search on them.
That's right. Yes, you can.
2 of those pictures are 8 years old. One of them is 11 years old. And the 4th one is actually a picture of Nevada.
Oh.
Not California.
Yikes.
That's Gavin Newsom's social media team there trying to push back on criticisms. I was looking at the picture of Hollywood Boulevard. It's like, that doesn't look right. There's no tents on the sidewalk. There's no human feces. I don't see any hypodermic needles piled up.
Oh, and to add insult to injury, Brendan Carr, who's the chairman of the FCC, replied to Gavin Newsom, oops, you posted a picture from the Republican-run state of Nevada. Sand Harbor is a great state park, though. That's the photo you're referring to, which is taken in a state park in Nevada, not California.
That's right. It's that's a bit of a social media fail there from the mighty Gavin Newsom, who did I mention that he's a sociopath and a pathological liar? Because he is. In fact, he's now claiming, hey, we've just had a decrease in homeless in Los Angeles under my watch. It's gone down 5%. Yeah, there's also been a record number of deaths, like over 1,500 people died on the streets of Los Angeles due to fentanyl overdoses. So he's claiming a success because the number of homeless have gone down due to fentanyl overdoses. That's who Gavin Newsom is. It's 8:53.
That's twisted.